Welcome to Conscious Heart Solution and my guest, Miss Amy Pomar. Amy, welcome to Conscious Heart Solutions. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I just wanted to, actually, I'll wait till the end. I wanted to introduce guys. Those of you that have been listening to my show for some time, I really want to get these salves out there, soulful salves. They have 200 milligrams of CBD. They're really good for neuropathy, any aches and pains, deep tissue pain, and they're great to replace cannabinoids in the body. So I'll show these a little bit more later on in the show or before we end. Amy, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Yes, please. So Amy, I'm gonna share with everybody a quick introduction to who Amy is. I call her a multidimensional artist. She calls herself a abstract artist. Is that what you said? Or yeah, I mean, there's really no label we can put on. You know, you're creative, and she draws visions that she sees from a multidimensional aspect of being able to see into timelines and other dimensions. So Amy Pomar is a 53-year-old wife and mother living in Jacksonville, Florida. She's had experiences that changed her life forever, which has ignited her art and her drawing and her creative expression and her vision. So Amy, do you mind please share and elaborate a little bit more with the guests, with myself?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So, I was just having my normal everyday life and existence. I'm an only child, and in 2007, my mom went into hospice, and I, being the only child, spent the next 3 weeks with her as she went through her, dying process. And the last few days of that process, I had some experiences that were undeniable and unmistakable and completely not what I expected. Um, as she was nearing her exit time, I was able to have visions of God coming down and waiting for mom, and then having an understanding of her soul, and have these experiences kind of shown out to me in daydreams. And I thought for a lot of the time that it was just because I was so exhausted and so tired. But so mom had passed, and probably about a year and a half, 2 years later, I started hearing, or not hearing, but having these knowings about things that I would have no interest in knowing. Ancient aliens just kind of started coming on TV, and they would drive me nuts. But they would sit there and they would explain something that I could sit there and daydream about, and then I could add to the conversation, but they just kept you spinning in circles. So you never got any resolve to it. You only got the emotional tie-in, and it would make me so mad because they never gave any answers. And so I started telling everybody the answers. And when I started doing that, everything just kind of started falling in place. And it's been a long, crazy ride, and I have met some amazing, strange people who I never thought would exist in my lifetime, and they live in your neighborhood. And to start explaining a lot of this stuff, I started drawing. Not because I was an artist. I'm not. I got a D in art, and I was proud of that. But how do you explain that the pyramids can be moved through humming and vibration? And then, how do you explain the trap door on the bottom of the sea, and how do you explain these things, and that ancient aliens is trying to explain for you? And so
Well,
once I started giving in.
yeah. Can I just chime in for a second? So you're
Yeah.
speaking of ancient aliens, and I do have a close, dear friend. I consider a friend and somebody I care about deeply. He and his beloved, both, well, Michael Lee Hill, he's been a guest on my show before, and
Mhm.
he was on Ancient Aliens. I know that there's a narrative that these, you know, people in higher echelons, if you will,
Mhm.
definitely try to control the narrative and what it is that we
Mhm.
know, and
Yeah.
how to, have certain narratives that they want us to go,
Mhm.
and belief systems that they want to keep
Mhm.
us, yeah. So
It and I never expected that a soccer mom in Jacksonville, Florida would ever encounter uh, any people or anything that was outside of the norm, and as time progressed and I started being more open with what I could do, the drawing thing really threw me for a loop for a long time because I just don't draw. And so I couldn't explain how all of a sudden I have these drawings. And then the drawings only took me 5-10 minutes most of the time. And I would just sit and draw one after another. And sometimes they would be flowers and geometry. And then the next thing they would be some type of um, uh, being of some sort, either an angelic being or a person in some situation. And then the third one would usually be some type of mechanical process. And so for years, I would draw one right after another. And sometimes they would be the same color, and so they would go together, and sometimes all three of them would be so different, and it wouldn't be till years later that I would be able to say, oh, this picture goes with this picture. And and I kept thinking, you know what, if I can do this, somebody else is doing this too, and I've got to go find some answers.
okay, so just real quick, for those of you that are listening or will listen to this in the future, my YouTube channel, Conscious Art Solutions, Amy and I met at my office or in the salon where I work at.
Mhm.
And do you want to tell the story of how we met, Amy? Because I think I tell people, well, because first off, I use you as an example of being a seer, right?
Yeah, go
Right.
ahead.
So go ahead and share. Do you
Well,
remember that day?
yeah, of course, yeah. It was
Yeah.
just like a few weeks ago too.
Right.
But It's funny, my husband likes to get his hair cut down there. The man that works at the place where he was getting his hair cut. I actually met him years ago when he worked at a different salon, and then he worked at Winn-Dixie for a long time.
Hmm.
And then now he and his wife are down in this other little center. And so George has finally found him and likes to get his hair cut. And he wanted me to go, and I really didn't want to go. Didn't want to go sit in the salon, but I did, and you were there, and you were kind of running around in the back. Um, and so what happens for me now is I start feeling it's almost like a magnetic type feeling. It's I I stop and observe the energy, and then I match the energy of what I am experiencing. Like for in this occasion, it was the experience of sitting in the salon and watching you do your thing. And my husband kept saying, "Go get her card. You like to do that stuff. You like to go get all this
Ionic,
salon stuff
yeah,
done."
yeah.
Yeah, and so I said, all right. And but really I just wanted to let you know that I had seen you. Because once I got up closer to you, without knowing anything about you, I recognized you. Um, and which is sometimes awkward, when I meet people, because sometimes I know that there's somebody, or that there is some, just the act of seeing somebody for who they are for a brief second in whatever form that is, or what's ever being out there at that moment, can be life-changing for some people, and definitely
Well,
for me.
okay, and I appreciate your, yeah, that was lovely, and I'm very glad that I met you, Amy. But
I'm
my
glad.
recollection is I was coming out, so I do ionic detoxes, and most of y'all that listen to the show know that. And I was coming out, going to go. I had a client in my office, and Amy says hi, and I said hi, and I thought she was gonna ask me about ionic detoxes. She said, I said, is there, do you have questions for about the ionic? No, she said, I'm here to see you. And I said, okay, do you have any questions about ionic detoxes? She said, nope, but I just want you to know I can see you. And I'm like, okay. Well, it just so happened, I mean, I knew what she meant by that, but an everyday person may not know that, understand where you were coming from with that. It may, yeah. Well, I do that with people too.
I handle I handle everybody in a different way. So some people,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So, but
but
it has become the start of a newly befriending. We are becoming friends, and we
yeah,
talk occasionally. And she's got a family. I don't, but I do reach out to her occasionally. And this is how things happen. My whole point in telling you the story is that we are recognizing more people are coming online and are recognizing we are recognizing each other at the soul level. And when you hold high vibration of light and a great deal of compassion, love, and empathy in your heart, it's not hard to see one another. We attract our own kind. So that doesn't mean that life is all love and light and everything's beautiful. I don't like to give that kind of impression when I talk about light, because
well,
light is
no,
being,
and
yeah,
we're
go ahead.
human. We're not supposed to,
Yeah.
if everything was all, we wouldn't be, I mean,
Well, we,
there's,
our soul came here for certain lessons for sure.
right.
And those lessons, I mean, if I want to use the word required, but it's not so, but it is, maybe there's another word, but I'll use that one for sake of everybody understanding. There are certain lessons we're required to complete and learn in order for us to move through our evolutionary process so that we can become learned beings and spiritually evolve and grow. That's at a individual level and as a collective. And we are right now, well, go ahead. Yeah. What do you
Well,
say to that?
well, it's been very challenging for me to understand the egos and the old ways of doing things. And, because a lot of times I'll be able to have a conversation with someone about XYZ, but with no formal background. So once that happens, it's kind of, it gets kind of frustrating. I think, um, so I've learned that it doesn't real well, everybody's perspective is their own perspective. And
Sure.
we have this kaleidoscope of information that falls down and reasserts itself all the time. Same papers, same colors, same shapes, just, every time we switch it, it's a new view. And as I'm
So
starting
you
to,
want to explain that, because I understand what you're saying, but a lot of people wouldn't understand what you're referring to there.
well, it's an easy example for many views or multi-dimensional views or many compartmental views, or however you want to put it, is I can explain it by just us being human. When we are growing up, we are a friend, we are a daughter, we are a sister, we are a cousin, we are a schoolmate, we're a friend. We get older, we're a girlfriend. We get older, we're a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, now a mother, now a grandmother. And And all of these different aspects are you. You are everything that I've named, but you can't always be all of those things all at once. You know, you can be a daughter in front of your mother. Sorry, piece of hair sticking. You can be a daughter in front of your mother, but you're also a mother in front of your daughter. And so how you know, how can you be all these aspects at once? And you just kind of are. And so when
Well, can
people
I
are,
respond to that for a minute?
yeah,
Do you mind? Okay, so those are different. So we could call them different roles that we play in order for our soul
right,
to have an experience, in order for it to
right,
grow and learn and gain wisdom through, right? So the problem, well, I won't say a problem, but a lot of times we identify so with these roles that we have, and we forget at the core of our being is that we are our soul, here to
right,
have these experiences, these kinds
right.
of relationships, in order to grow and
Mhm,
evolve and so forth. The goal, you know, it's like we go through the attachment of
mhm,
being attached to our children, our husbands, our wives, our
mhm,
mothers, our sisters, whoever the character is playing. Because actually, if you want to get to, you know, from a higher perspective, they're all you, quite
mhm.
literally. An
Right.
aspect of
Yes.
yourself, get sharing it. Yeah. So,
One of the pictures that I sent over to you for this broadcast was, it looks like an air plant. It just kind of goes in it, and it has these little air shoots that go with it. And it's just it looks like a flower. And that's my best representation of a soul.
if you want to
And
speak to that, please
so,
do.
yeah, and you know, it took me a long time to understand. We actually have like three different kinds of ways of being here. We have our you know, we have our organic body, which is our frame, which was, you know, born in, you know, I was conceived in Idaho. I was born in Indiana. My grandparents were from Ireland, and so I have this organic body that is rich in history, and rich in history in the locations that it came from too. So, you know, you might have an affinity or a calling for um, oh, here's an example. My grandparents were from Poland, and so we've got, you know, several generations of Polish before they came here. And I love amber, and I like amber jewelry. I like amber in boxes. I like amber a lot, and amber is mostly found in the forest in Poland. So my organic body probably somewhere in some time has a lineage of amber foresting people. I don't know. But so the organic body would come from there. And that's not necessarily where your soul is from. And then we have our present body, which is here. This is how we express ourselves through our personalities, through all of the different ways we wear our hair. It's an expression of the soul, and we have so many different ways of expressing ourselves because our soul has so many different opportunities. Second by second, and you know, my soul now wasn't the same soul we started with 5 minutes ago, and you know, it's going to continue to grow and expand, and so I use my current body for that, and that's my life lessons. And then the third way of viewing things is, you know, your imagination and your daydreaming, and your dreams in the middle of the night, and your experiences there. And you know, they I've been thinking a lot about past lives, and how, you know, how you read your past life energy, and how you would even know where to even start. And I've meditated on that, and quite a bit lately, and I keep coming back to the same daydreams. You know, when my daydream opens at the same place every single time, you know, maybe there's something to that. Maybe that is more familiar, that um you know, maybe I should spend some time exploring that in meditation or daydream more. But really what I'm doing is I'm letting my soul become multidimensional while I'm here. So I'm here experiencing, um, I'm sitting in this physicality now, and my soul is daydreaming other locations. So, before, people would say, oh, no, 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 that's not how you be our, multidimensionally. That's not how it works. But why not? Why wouldn't it work there? We're not going any place here. So
You're not going any place, is that what you said?
yeah, I mean, I'm here. I can daydream other places. I can out of body travel, right?
Okay.
But I
So
always come
so
back.
you are going then. So it's my understanding. I mean, and I'm not here to debate who's right or wrong, because there is no
Yeah,
right or wrong, right? Everybody's
it,
experiences are
it's
theirs.
all
And I
right.
on that's right. And I respect everybody. Right. So what I was gonna say was, well, I surely do travel, um and some of it I'm aware of, fully aware of where I'm at and who I'm with, and sometimes not.
Yeah.
But I definitely know, well, I will say this, it is a knowing that our soul leaves the body when we're resting at night, right? Because we have other things we're doing. We are so magnificent and
Mhm.
big, our because not only do we have our own spark of the divine within us, our soul, and
But we're
there
connected to
some would
everybody
suggest
else's.
that there, huh?
We're connected to everybody else's spark too.
Well, that's right, but some are walking around that don't have a spark, Amy. This is what
Well,
I was going to say. Well, I hate to say it, it's true. Well, everybody has their own perspective. I respect yours, but I can say, with enough research and becoming aware of dumbs, and you're aware of dumbs, and
mhm.
genetically.
I know they exist, and I know they're all around, and everything. And Lord knows, I'm sure I've run into quite a few of them in my lifetime.
Well, I
But
mean, some would suggest I have AI that runs through my body, and I'm quite open about
yeah,
that. I know that I'm a Pleiadian soul, and I know I originated in Lemuria, and my soul
mhm.
progressed and so forth. And so, do I have full memory of all that? Absolutely not. I would like it, but I don't know that it's necessary for me to grow and continue to do what I'm here to do.
Well, and
If yeah,
that's a very important point, and that's a very important thing to have too, because really what you need is to have faith. And really it's like having enough faith in yourself, knowing that if I am all of this, that I'm doing and I'm taking care of things like I'm supposed to be doing, because down here, I'm doing what I know I should be doing here now. And you know, with all the division that's happening in this world right now, and I think people are now starting to get to the point where they can come around and say, you know what, you don't have to be friends with me, and I don't have to be friends with you, but I respect the fact that you live in my neighborhood. So, I'm gonna look, I'm not gonna yell at you and you don't yell at me, and let's help each other. And I think we're hopefully getting back to that a little bit more. I think that the atrocities that are being committed, and the division, uh, and the filth and the muck that's they've created, and lately is, people are waking up to who they really are on the inside. And I don't think that as many people could do that if they didn't have such dramatic examples of what they are not. It's as we start to stand up to say, you know what, I am this, I am a wife, I am a mother, and I'm going to play these roles, and because that's what I want to do. I don't want to be someone who is considered a danger to others because I do or do not follow a protocol that may or may not be um,
well,
in my best
I
interest. And
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
but I, you know,
so if you're
so I think,
referring to the jab, we don't say, that's the word we use, and they're poisons, and I'm totally against their poisons. I mean, um, I say pick your poison because really at every turn we're being um bombarded with, I mean, all kinds of stuff. But I went down those rabbit holes for years
Mhm,
and I just
mhm.
won't give it my energy. So I mean, every once in a while I'll still get triggered here or there. But at this point, it's just about being proactive and making conscious,
Well,
well
decisions there.
educated, well researched decisions for ourselves, our families, our children, so forth, so on.
And
So
that is so necessary right now for you, for people to become who they really want to be on the inside. These decisions, making these decisions right now, and coming back and building your self-confidence and your self-care and your self-compassion, is vital right now. And as that happens, it's kind of like someone who is, out with they're addicted to fentanyl, right? And they're, they have a completely different life 6 months after they did, 6 months ago. And because of the consciousness that is that drug use. But um they didn't want that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be out of control and then thrown out and then being controlled by a drug. And I think that as we are able to have more compassion for ourselves, then we're going to also be able to offer more compassion to other people. And it doesn't mean you have to go be friends. It doesn't mean you have to go feed the, throw the money on the corner or whatever. Sometimes just smiling at them, you know,
I think
uh,
a
or
lot more
what,
people. I mean, okay, so this is the way I see. I mean, I appreciate everything you just said, and you know,
yeah,
I, but I think I'll speak for myself for sure. You know, I'm a very polite, respectful person, and I like to say hello to people and hold doors and respect my elders and be kind and um, say please and thank you. I think all those things would serve us all well if we had some
mhm,
manners and went back to some old fashioned ways of doing things for sure. Um,
right.
yeah.
But how
And
do you feel
and
about
but
yourself
there are,
when you do that?
well, what I was going to say to you, Amy, is there are a lot more behaving in this way than there are not, from my
Yep,
perspective at this point. I'm
yep,
running into more and more people like yourself and other people that are very kind, very
mhm,
loving, very compassionate, very helpful. And I don't focus on the ones that aren't anymore. It's not my
yeah,
business. I thought about that today. I went to go, I had to run into clothes for a second, and a woman left her cart, her pushing cart or whatever it's called,
mhm,
the cart for the store in the middle of the parking lot, pushed it over by the curb, and I'm thinking, you know, I appreciate that I make it my business to take the cart back and put it back where it needs to be rather
mhm.
than leave it in the middle of the parking lot. But everybody thinks, what my point in telling you the story is, everybody thinks what they're doing is more important than the next, right? So if
Mhm.
we can all slow down and be considerate of others and our surroundings and people that may, um, need to reach
Well,
out
and
for some help.
yeah,
But
and it gets easier when uh when it gets easier to be that when you um
no, you make a conscious decision to do that. That's
right,
what I say.
yeah,
It's not a,
um,
it really is, it's really that simple. Like, I stopped saying to myself, Amy, I want to try and do this. Katie and I just, the producer, had a conversation about this earlier, and she pointed something out to me, and I said, I appreciate that. Because it's like I keep repeating myself, because
mhm,
I want to be assuring, or I want to, am I trying to convince somebody of something? Rather than
mhm,
doing that, either you do it or you don't, right?
right,
And until
yeah,
you're ready to do it, keep it to yourself till you do it.
mhm,
Like, it's
right,
not I'm trying, or I'm hoping, or I'm
exactly.
right. That's
And
all I was
and
saying.
And you know what? That must be what's on the unity consciousness grid today too, is, there or you're not, you're doing it or you're not. Which is a very earthbound way of linear thinking too. You're this or you're that or you're not. But and I wrestled with that for a little bit too, because how can I be so definite this or that? But in this occasion, with these two choices, I choose this way. So it's just kind of a choosing a path. But it's naturally happening that people are starting to go back inside, become a little more internal, listen to their messages that they're getting from the inside, which is, the messages of love and compassion and unconditional consideration
Not everybody's
and
getting those messages right
for your own
now.
self.
Unfortunately, not everybody's getting those messages. Some people are very angry and very frustrated and really want to blame everything else. I was one of those people years ago. I was so angry that I became aware of what I became aware of. And then I realized, guess what? Hey, while these things may be happening, and yes, some very horrible things have happened to me, and I've done some horrible things, that ultimately I'm responsible for myself and there's nobody else to blame. There is
But
nobody to blame. It all comes down to us choosing at a soul level. Just
that's the evolution of your soul right there, is coming through and cleaning away all of the things that don't serve you. And people, when they start hearing the internal call to, and it's really just about yourself. It's really, it's your own self telling you your own self things. And when you don't listen to your own self, because your own self knows you best.
Oh, I totally get that. What's the word? Self-betrayal was a big issue for me for a long time. And I practice on a daily basis not to betray myself, not to say yes when I mean no, not to, or say no when I really want to say yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have to work through all of the different ways that you say yes when you mean no. You have to, you say it with your parent, you say it with your stranger, you say it,
Sure.
And all of those until you can amend the what makes you make those choices, and you bring it back and heal, it's splintered. It's just all these splintered pieces. But really it's just the same issue in 1,000 different forms, and then letting it
why
go.
Integration work and healing is so needed, and people don't realize. But you can get to a point. I'm a firm believer, and I really want to turn this conversation to a different direction and really talk about your art, because that's I think would be helpful for the listeners, because they can see it being shown, and maybe you can refer to some of them. But what I was going to say was integration work. I often say in my posts, we never arrive. One thing I know for sure is life is always change. And the goal is to practice being in the moment and living your purpose to the best you're humanly capable. That is becoming. We are always becoming. And we go through growth spurts. And sometimes it feels like we're going, this is my experience. I can't speak for others, but I'll say my experience is that I may step 5 steps forward and then I have 7 back. But then all of a sudden I jump and leap forward because I've now gotten the lesson that maybe I didn't, get in full in its completion, which afforded me to move forward, if that makes sense, right?
Yep.
And we have to make the choice to say, I'm not a victim, and I choose to stand and empower myself.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. I am, I love talking to people. I spend most of my, if anybody has an etheric job assigned to go and talk to people, it would be me. I talk to everybody, but I limit it in my neighborhood. I'm a real big proponent of my neighborhood, but so when I run into other people who have knowledge, or they have, they're writing books or they're doing this, and there's believe me, there are just, wherever you are in life, there's, 50 more people that know this knowledge around you someplace, and which is by design. It's a, uh, our awakening to our consciousness, and understanding our consciousness before we die and have to come back and repeat our lessons in consciousness. Having consciousness of who our soul really is, and how we're all interconnected, and how we work together before we leave this planet, allows us to bring in, the heaven on earth, or the new world, or whatever it is. And there's not room for other things. And I realize today that I get real jealous when I talk to somebody who knows as much or more than I do about things. I'm like, well, how come I wasn't the one to be able to bestow this, stuff on you? And I realized how long I've been working on trying to just be okay with just not being an expert, or being the only one, or something. And that's been really hard. It's been really hard to step aside and watch other people, and to be an observer of other people. And I'm so thankful for, us getting sent home for a while, because that really was a good time to kind of break the false perceptions of what you thought you were versus other people. And it kind of just leaves you with the most simple plan. My art is one of those things. And when I figured out what it actually was, and how it was coming through, and what it could be used for, um, I thought, oh, well, great, everybody will want to know how to do this, or something. And everybody
Well, there's
has
a
an idea
lot of
of what I
there's a
should
yeah,
do.
yeah, there's a lot of people that do multidimensional art.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're one of them, but yours is unique to you. So I know you and
Right.
I were up late one night having a
Yeah.
conversation about
Yeah.
some of this of what you just shared, and I would say to you that you have your own unique gift to
Oh,
you,
absolutely.
Amy. So don't worry about, you know,
Well,
I would
well,
I would
and I
highly
know.
encourage. Well, when you say the
Yeah.
word jealous, as if you
Well,
want to be the only one to be,
well, and
you
yeah. Well,
I pre
no, I
no,
mean,
I'm
it is.
not hold on, wait a minute. I'm not giving you a hard
I
time about it.
No, no,
I
no, no. I
appreciate your being honest and being able to say, hey, wait a minute, I experienced jealousy,
Mhm.
when I really
Yeah.
wanted to be someone that, was
Right.
a teacher of
Right.
certain, but you still are. This is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Oh,
so
no, I'm
much.
fine with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with, no, I completely know that. I, you know, I don't know, I guess it is kind of jealousy. It's like, well, how did you do that? Or, why didn't I think of that first, or something?
Well,
But
we
that's
all have an
okay.
aspect to bring.
Oh yeah, but it's perfectly fine. And I'm so, I'm actually really glad that it kind of gets brought up, because it's at this point just really at such basic level for me, that I can recognize it just as this one thing. It's not 10 things that I'm not, it's not anymore. It's an emotion of envy, which is not in alignment with being unconditional necessarily. So, that just tells me that I'm heavily balanced in this one area. And so I need to start doing things, or creating, because we're such creators. Our words, the tones we have, magic all day long. And if you know what, you know, magic isn't David Copperfield coming to your house. Magic is, you know, uh, everybody smiling at you because you wish everybody's having a great day, and they have a great day, and that's the fun magic that's out there for us to experience, and to use. And as we get better at using our words, and our drawings, and our whatever, the more it will catch on fire, and the more, even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if it's just 5 minutes that everybody in one place is happy.
Yeah.
That's great. That's all I need.
But
5 minutes.
I would highly encourage, I mean, this is just a suggestion. I would worry about making everybody else happy, Amy, and I would definitely,
Oh, no, it's all for my amusement. No,
Yeah.
I want to be happy. I want everybody around me to be happy for 5 minutes. I want that. I want that for me.
But the more,
and then,
but what I'm prepared to say to you is, and I know that, well, in my own experience, that when I am a joy-filled, happy, content, safe in my own body person, in which I am, I attract more people like myself to me.
right.
Now, I do have some that come to me that's, that reach out to me for help and guidance and so forth. But on a whole, for the most part, the people that I surround myself with are very fun loving, people. And life doesn't have to be serious all the time. There was a time when life was real serious for me because I was, I'm just coming out of this process of the dark night of the soul of my own experiences and having to face my own darkness and come to terms with where I was giving my power away. And so you have an opportunity through your art to really bring some visual idea of what multidimensional beings look like, what
yeah, so I've been drawing since we've been chatting. And
well, I'm curious to see if you're willing to share.
Let's see, I don't know, let's see where the camera is. Okay, so this is,
that's pretty awesome. I
so
like
this is what we got so far.
Yeah,
which is really,
that's beautiful. I don't know what would you, what
I don't
so
know.
where is that coming from? Like what is it that's giving that image?
Well,
That's
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
My thought is that it's taking root and it's seeding, but I'm not quite sure what it is. So
That's pretty awesome. I like it.
Yeah, so
I think that's beautiful. I mean, it looks like some type of either symbol or a well, even DNA.
yeah, well, yeah, it would, yeah.
I mean,
I would
it's not like the helix, like the but it looks like it's something along the lines of.
Well, and one of the things I've learned too, because I didn't understand when I started drawing what that actually meant, so I would go and find other people who were drawing spontaneously too and see what things meant for them. So I have a whole group of friends that, over the last 10 years, we've kind of progressed. It was one girl I was talking to, I said, why aren't you drawing? You need to be drawing. And she lived in England, and she went and like 2 days later, she sent me a picture. She's like, I've never painted in my life. And she sent me a picture of this huge mermaid that she had painted up on her hallway, where she'd have to get a ladder and, get up there to paint. And she's like, I've never drawn anything in my life. So it's been really fun to kind of watch how, the drawing bug unfolds for everybody. There's, my drawings are a lot of the process that we're experiencing now, where we are going, really kind of cutting it close to the end of things, where we don't go back to sleep again. After we leave this planet, we come back with our consciousness intact, which would be an evolutionary leap, really, for mankind, and really where we've all been wanting to go. But in order for that to do that, we've got to bring that magic here on Earth. And so this drawing right here looks like it's seeding. It's got some portal energy, and it's also got some of the DNA things. that I usually draw. Like this right here will be a portal energy. And then these shapes right here always are seeded or new growth and seeding. And I found that other people who draw also will draw these shapes. So now
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
yeah,
I think anything creative is really just so good for us and really pleasing to our soul. Our soul wants to create.
yeah. Well, and
Even
the more
our
you create,
cooking or our decorating, or some people think, I mean, just putting up, arranging a flower pot, like anything
Mhm,
that brings beauty. And some,
mhm,
some people like drawing dark, you know
mhm.
more
But
on the
that's
dark
okay
side.
too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's okay too.
of
Even
course
though
it
it's,
is.
and what might be dark to you isn't dark to somebody else,
That's right. That's right.
and I'm so glad that people are starting to kind of come into their own too, because I think that so many people get shut down when they try and seek information uh, when this stuff happens. I I firmly believe that we are evolving. I have no doubt that we are uh, illuminating ourselves here on Earth. I think that it's a physical process that has a lot of different manifestations and a lot of different symptoms. And I think that people are starting to realize that they're not the only one that is having their heart ignite. But it's a big night of the soul too. You have to go through so many of the dark things, which is really just forgiveness of self. All those dark things like why did I put myself in that position? Well, to be honest, I wanted to experience what it would be like to be in that position, and even though it didn't turn out well or or whatever, I had the experience and it was one more thing of what I'm not. And I can walk away from it. And
Well, the
I
easiest thing for me to come to terms with, and one of my mm, soul sisters, Miss Karen Starr, or Gemma Starr, I will call her Gemma. Um, she is pretty amazing, and
Mhm,
she writes and she does poetry and so forth. And
mhm,
uh, at every turn, at some level, we agree to certain things prior to coming in. And I don't, there's an aspect of me that fully understands that or understands that. And then there's an aspect of me still that I am coming to terms with and integrating, where I don't know how much of what we agreed to prior to coming
mhm,
in and what was forced on us or what was truly not um part of our soul lessons that was
mhm.
projected onto us. But I think it's so important to, we have to stand up for ourselves. We can't
Yes.
be just, okay, I forgive. And it's, you have to be able to speak and protect yourself and speak with
Mhm,
authority, right? And I'm
mhm.
just getting my voice back. As much
Yeah.
as people would say, oh, Ida, there's still parts of me that are still going through integration and healing.
Mhm.
And
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 that might never end.
I don't know that
And
again, I don't think we ever arrive. One thing I know for sure is change is a definite, and it
yeah.
never ends.
Well,
We go through these different deaths and rebirths in our life. Huge ego death. I feel like I've been going through for, especially. I mean, I've gone through many, but I just feel like the a humbling
mhm,
of my. There's parts of me that I feel like I don't know how to get to
right,
really, yeah. And
right. So you have to trust yourself that you're taking care of those parts, even if you can't actualize them. It's kind of like, I know I have a soul, you know, we all, I know that, you know, but how is this voice coming out of me, the soul that is this, you know, how does that
What do you mean
work?
that's
And
this? What do you mean? I don't
well,
understand.
you know, um, how do you express your soul through a distorted point of view, meaning
I
not
think when
using
we're
other,
spontaneous and we're in the moment, like you and I are right now, that's where pure intent, pure our true soul self
yeah,
can express itself when
mhm,
we're looking to, you know, uh um present ourselves a certain way to be,
right,
seen in a certain light rather than just simply being authentic and genuine and who you are. I think it's important, and I love these kinds of conversations. That's why I keep my show pretty, basic
mhm,
and like nothing stiff, because we need to be able to have a place to have just general these kinds of conversations, people bringing
you do,
your type of creativity to the forefront and say, hey, there are, this
mhm,
is what I've created to bring in what I am able to see from my mind's
mhm,
eye, my higher
yeah,
self, soul self, so that I can share it with the world. And maybe it will, by people seeing
yeah,
your art, may ignite something in them for either healing or more self
mhm,
awareness or an expanded consciousness, whatever it might be.
yeah,
Yeah. But
or
when
just
you're in the
knowing that,
moment and being spontaneous and not, that's when we're coming from our true authentic self. That's how I feel. Yeah.
my rule of thumb and what I tell other people too is if I know what I'm going, if I know what to expect, if I know the end of it, then I have done it before, and I'm repeating a mistake or I'm being redundant. Just that I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what we're going to talk about. It does leave you to be more creative, and it really kind of rolls through that black void of what it's supposed to be, because there's no expectations, there's no preconceived notions. um you know, even the interactions that we've had together can't predict, you know, the whole, you know,
Okay. I mean, no, of course.
yeah,
I mean,
so
nobody,
have,
I don't care who you are. You could be
right,
Jesus or Buddha or whoever. Nobody has the full, complete. We all have an
right,
aspect of the divine that we bring forward to the best of our ability, our pure soul intention. And everybody doesn't have the same intent. And I like to make that clear. I mean,
yep,
from my perspective,
and
everybody's like all love and
yeah,
light and everything. It's not that I don't want love and light, and I do bring a lot of light. I am light. I am a
if,
Leo, and I am very,
right,
I
but if
hold
you
my light.
understand,
Yeah,
if you understand this is a process and that people have to go through the process, however that looks like for them,
sure.
you know, it could be, you know,
Well, my
it
point
could be you
is
become king of the
Amy, what
world.
I'm,
It could be
yeah.
you end up homeless in the middle of the Ozark Mountains. You know, you just don't know what it is. But by allowing them to kind of come to their own understanding, and then supporting them through that understanding, because some of
Well,
it's
I think
really
we need to
hard.
get ourselves in check before we want to be saviors
Right.
or helpers to anybody. And
Well, we
nobody
can't
could
be.
save anybody. Well,
No.
this is what I've been trying to say, is that
Yeah.
we have to take self responsibility at every turn,
Right.
period, and get ourselves right before, well, they say the best healers are the ones that have healed themselves, right? But we
Right.
also, you
Well,
get to a point where it's like, okay, I've done a lot of inner work, I've done a lot of releasing, I've done a lot of the, shadow work.
mhm,
And at some point you just stand up and you say, okay, you know,
mhm,
this
I'm
is
ready.
this is what's worked for me. It might not necessarily work for somebody else, but we can
Yes.
share information and help guide
Right.
people and so forth. But I think a lot of
And you'll
people,
never know.
especially in the spiritual community, they want to be a savior, they want to be seen as this special, whatever. And
Mhm,
I surely don't. I don't look for anybody to. I always tell people, return to your heart, get right with
yeah.
yourself. that's what I
Right.
know for me, I had to get right with my own soul. Okay.
Hmm.
And letting go of the ego, dropping, and I'm not perfect. I'm not, I still have a lot of ego
There,
driven. Yeah.
it's probably, I have not met anyone, but when I met you, I don't know how to say this. Um, you are so genuine in all that you have done to be all that you are now. And it, I know you've battled through things, but I don't even know how to,
Amy, thank
I
you.
don't even know how
I
to picture,
appreciate that.
yeah, how, I just don't. You're very you're yourself, and you're 100% who you are. And you know, I don't expect you to be anything else than just that when I'm with
That
you.
is so kind. That is a
So
very kind. I appreciate you.
yeah,
Um, I
I
really do
just,
appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, I may
So I
not know.
definitely make it my business to be who I am, and sometimes that's not, there's times when I'm not, so easy to be around. I can be,
Well,
you
that's
know,
okay though.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
But I'm
okay.
definitely much further along than I was. And I
Mhm,
still, again, like I said, I mean, I have done a lot of shadow work, but I also know that, again, we never arrive. So it's people like yourself and other women that have come into my life that
mhm,
give me the space, and I
mhm,
do that for them as well. We give each other the opportunity just to come as we are, without
mhm.
any expectation, without any judgment,
Right,
and to be able to hold boundaries with one another from a loving
right,
place, but
right.
being assertive. Because I
Mhm,
don't want people in my life that are not direct and assertive and speak their
right,
mind. You're not helping me, and I'm surely not going to help you if I'm,
exactly.
everything is whatever. But we know that we're coming from a place that is not
Mhm,
where I don't look to be hurtful to anybody.
right.
My
And I
intention
can,
is never to be hurtful with my words, but that we need to be able to be direct and,
right.
yeah, and
And
speak. Yeah,
these conversations are important to have, so that we show other people how to be respectful to one another.
right.
It's really not about that you can, it's how. And we've given up that power to so many people. Television teaches us how to be respectful for people. The rules you learn in the books and the everything show you, but they don't really teach you the real magic of it is to be respectful to yourself as well.
That's,
and
well, of
and
course.
and so it's easy to manipulate us. So I think it's really important as we come into our own power, and it's okay to say, I just feel like being a shitty person today. I just, I'm going to be the best shitty person I can be. I'm going to get it out of my system. I need to rebalance something, and I'm just
I
going to
don't
get
think
it
I've
out
ever
there.
said that to myself before, but I guess on a subconscious level, maybe I never look. I usually, if I know that I'm in a funky mood, like there's
Hmm.
something going on, I withdraw. I go into hermit because I always know
Hmm.
that it's about me and it has nothing to do with anybody else. Now I do know, I'm the youngest of 12 kids, Amy,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, I'm the youngest of 12, and it's very difficult to be heard growing up in a family of 12. And
I'm sure.
it has been, yeah, well, I mean, um, that's been a big issue, but I am also a Leo and an Aquarius rising and
Mhm,
Aquarius moon. I talk. I am an outgoing person.
mhm,
I bring a lot of energy with me wherever I go. I bring me, and
mhm,
that can be a bit overbearing for some. Now I know I've reeled it back a bit. As I've gotten older, and I also, I've always been pretty blunt and wide open, and I've learned that some people, it's probably best not to share. I have to
mhm.
be a little bit more selective in who I allow in my energy field. I will say that. And it's not about fear of anything. It's saying, no, I want people like myself or
Well,
someone I can learn from, or I can, where it's reciprocal. We can learn from each other. I don't want to save anybody, and I surely am not looking for anyone to save me, so.
And I completely agree with that. I do, however, want to model the behavior that allows people to consider things in a different way.
That's a wonderful way you just said that. That's right. Where we can
yeah. So,
conduct ourselves in a way that is more becoming, more allowing, more kind, compassionate,
more
and those things.
graceful, more full of
Graceful.
grace,
There you
really.
go. That's
Yeah,
lovely
and
for you.
it's like I love the grocery store. The grocery store is my favorite place to go, and intermix with people. It doesn't matter who you are or how much money you have. If you're a woman, you're gonna buy some Tampax. We're all equal there. You go to the store because you're just as out
Well,
of toilet
hopefully not
paper as the
everybody's
rest of
doing that,
us.
Amy, because Tampax
Well,
is very toxic for you. And by the way, I'm 53. I don't have to worry about those things
I know
anymore.
I don't
I
either.
know that. I know where you're going with that. The point is, I get it.
But everybody's the same. Everybody's there because they want to feed their family, or
Yeah, at the
sometimes
core,
in
we
a
all
hurry.
want the same thing: safety, safety, healthy family,
Well, right.
loving relationships, respectful
So
ones. Yeah,
yeah,
I get it.
so in the grocery store, I love to go and be unconditionally compassionate, or that's where I'll go practice on people. I'll sit there and I'll read their energy field for a minute, and like an example would be a mother whose kid is throwing a fit on the floor, and I might walk by going, you know what? I left mine at home because yours and mine would be a best friends. And really, all that's really doing is acknowledging to the mother that, hey, don't worry about it. We all have these terrible tantrums to, throw, and you're not the only one. And it's just kind of like that reconnection. That reconnection that allows people to um, be themselves just for a minute. And for that mother, it might be the mother that says, oh, for the love of God, get up.
Yeah,
It might be that that's the permission that she needs to be herself enough to change the dynamic of the experience for her.
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, so
So
I
let's get back to your not to I appreciate everything you just said, but so do you want to
yeah,
share a couple of your art and give us the backstory of like have you okay, let me ask you this. Have you been contacted? Like have you experienced having beings where you've been contacted and had you have
um
recollection of it or
I okay, so so when my mother died, and she blew out her soul out of her last breath, it went through me, and I had a physical reaction, and the physical reaction ended up being and it's taken me years to understand. um uh the what happened is my electromagnetic field got broken for a minute, which allows um the veils to drop. And so
I just lost you.
I don't know if you can see that. So um, so I started drawing, and it was more like feeling. It was more like
So wait a minute. So wait a minute. You just said that your mother's soul injured you? Is that what you just said? Your microphone keeps going off.
yeah,
Is that what
yeah.
you said? Your mother's soul injured you?
I think so. I don't really know exactly what happened, but she breathed out, I breathed in at the same time, and I was probably just this far away from her. Um,
Well, I went
I,
through that with my mother. She didn't injure me, but she sat up and released her spirit and I watched it go.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
didn't come,
This
it
one.
did not, I would never let another spirit enter me. That
Oh,
I
well,
would not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, right
Well, I'm
before,
not saying
oh
I
yeah,
didn't
no,
mean
right.
it like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, right before this,
But
it took,
I'm just wondering, I mean, that's fascinating. So you feel that she entered your body. I'm not saying there's
I
anything
think she
right,
went,
wrong, good or bad with that.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. To be quite
Why
honest,
do
they
you
keep
think she
looking
injured you though? Why do you think she injured
because
you?
it felt like dry ice on my spine on the inside.
Interesting. Okay.
It was at my solar plex. And and but see, I had experiences for the 3 days before that. I call it her resurrection period.
Okay.
But like the first night, the first experience I had, there was a light on the corner of the ceiling, in the seam of the ceiling, and we were in hospice, and so there was no, it's very light, no, you know,
Yeah.
no lights. It was, in the early in the morning, and she was sleeping, and she was whining, and I knew that her body was hurting, and so she was responding to that. So I crawled into bed with her, and she had been kind of tracking something on the ceiling, and so I started paying attention to where she was tracking, and see, I was so exhausted, so I don't know what's real and what. So anyway, so we're in there, and this light is up in the ceiling, and as she's breathing in, the light kind of goes away. But as she breathes out, then it comes this way, like it's replacing the air. And so I was watching this, and I had just gotten to the point where I was being able to uh, from example, keep up with how many times this light would appear versus she was, I was just starting to get the hang of it. And the nurse came in, and I jumped out of bed. I was embarrassed. I was laying, I didn't know if I was laying on something or whatever. And so I got out of bed, and that was day number one. Day number two, they come back, and usually come back, visit their body one more time. There's still soul attached, but they come back down, and this is where they would come, and they might be talking gibberish. In my case, it was my mom, and she took a breath, and she goes, "Oh, Amy, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life, Amy. I'm home. I'm home. I'm home." And so I thought real quick, "Oh, what do you mean home? Not like heaven home." I thought she was talking about our house in Wisconsin growing up. And so I asked her, I'm like, "Is this your house in Friendship?" And she said, "Oh, yes." And then I said, "Okay, well, there's people waiting for you. You need to go inside." And so we go inside, and just a split second, not even, she's like, "Oh, mother, oh, dad." And she starts naming other relatives that she doesn't really speak of very often. And she starts describing the pie that they're eating, and then tells me a poem about pie and ice and cheese, because they're from Wisconsin. Put cheese on pie.
Yeah,
And
we did that.
huh?
Cheddar
Apple.
cheese on apple pie. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she named all the pie, and then that was it. And then the last day, which was the day after Christmas, and as she got closer to taking her final breath, and I was sitting there, and I'm an only child, so it was just me. My husband was in
Yeah.
the corner, and then the hospice nurse was on the other side of the bed. And she took her second to last breath and blew it out. And again, I was laying with her, and laying next to someone who is dying is not easy, because their organs start shutting down. So it's a very unique smell to go with it. But I sat there, and she breathed out, and it hit me. And I remember sitting back up and taking it like that. And then I blacked out for some time. And it was cold, and it was physical, and it caught my breath. And when I was able to when I came back, the nurse, my husband was one side and the nurse was on the other. So they had actually physically moved on the room. So I had to have been out for a second or two. And I breathed out one more time, and then she breathed one more time. And that was it. And then um, she was very particular about her things. She liked her things. She didn't want her things to go anywhere until she was ready to give up her things, and she still wasn't ready to give up her things. But I had a dream one night, and she was in a wheelchair. She had a stroke when I was in high school, so she lived in a broken body from the time she was 47 till she was 73, and she lived alone. But Annie Dorothy, she would call every Sunday, and when after Mom died, Annie Dorothy died, and I that night I had a dream, and Mom came, and she was in her wheelchair, and she was looking for her dog Tony, who is this 27-year-old poodle, and literally, and you know, I saw her down the hall. Mom, what are you doing? So, and she was with Annie Dorothy, and Annie Dorothy died that day. So I got a phone call later the next day about it. So I had no doubt that I was seeing in a different realm. My drawing started trying to explain things, and it started more like echolocation. Like I would just draw and not pay any attention to what I'm drawing. It was really automatic channeling. And that drove me to find more answers, because I had no reason to draw or want to draw or have any knowledge about any of this stuff. And as I started diving into it more, I've noticed lately when I go back and I see old drawings, that they were really scattered, and the energy that I was drawing 10 years ago was not well compiled. And really, you know, now I look at it and go, I was drawing 6 separate things, not one drawing. It was 6 separate shapes, or 6 something on whatever. But there's people that I started drawing with years ago that are now really sure about what they're doing. And you know, one of them has left her regular job and is now teaching art. You know, she draws energy beings, and she makes them out of
Energy beads,
beings, stick figures.
beings. Yeah, yeah,
Look
yeah.
like that look like stick figures, but they're not. They're I saw it not too long ago. Jordan Peterson had a video where they had been able um, to
Well,
to to
so
record DNA,
yeah.
and the shapes that you find in this DNA that you can watch this video of are the same shapes that she draws, are the same shapes that I draw. And so I find no mistake in that, you know. So
Okay,
uh
so I initially asked you, and which is no issue. You were talking about your mother and your auntie, and that's lovely. But I had asked you, have you been contacted? And you never answered me. So have you been
well,
contacted?
no, I mean, I've had dreams where I've had a procession, and I have drawings of beings that I've drawn but not seen, you know.
Well,
uh
you're seeing them in your conscious.
in my mind's eye,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, check this out though, Amy. Everything that's happening, including you and I right now, is in your mind's eye. It's
Right,
in your consciousness. It's not out there somewhere. There is no
right.
out there. When you drop to 0 point, there is nothing outside of you. Everything
That's
is
true.
you,
That's
right?
true.
I'm just saying. So,
Yeah.
so you are,
I haven't had
but you
conversation.
haven't physically had an experience where somebody was,
No.
is what you're saying. You haven't had
No.
that
No,
you can
I've had
recall. That you can recall. Do you think you've
right.
been contacted, or I mean, I'm not trying to like, I'm not
No,
trying to get
no,
you to say something.
I'm trying to, you know, I went to, Yes, I think I've met people that operate on a whole different level. Um, but they have always looked like human beings. Sometimes they
Okay.
look like odd human beings
Hmm.
because they're very tall, like 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
Um, especially when there's a family of 7 foot tall of them. One day I was in Disney
Is
World.
there a place here in Florida nearby that they have a place where, like, you just made me think of something. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like it's a place where people, it's like a community of people.
Oh, Casadega.
I don't know what the name of it is, but
That's
evidently it's a community of people that are
that's
a bit
Casadega.
different. Yeah. What
That's
is that?
Casadega. They're a spiritualist community. No, I've never been there. We're all actually, there's a whole bunch of us that are going to go do a field trip. You should come with us.
Okay.
Um,
I will.
yeah,
Make sure you let me know. I mean, I definitely will.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
And better if we can do it on the weekday too, because then it would be more just us.
yeah.
Yeah. So Casadega, yeah, no, we're good, like actively, like within the next month or so, we'll probably try and go down there. But they're a spiritualist community. They moved down here from New York. And I'm not really sure what their main theory was. I read a lot of theosophy, Theosphy, which is a it's like a white magic universe, mediumship type theories of why things happen. Most So I don't know why I brought that up, but so I don't know what Casadega, I don't know if they're like based on theosophy or what. I do know that there's places down there, I've never been, but there's a house I know I need to go to. I even know the address of it. It's on Colby Lane or Colby Road, and it's Blue House.
I'm
So I know
trying
I
to
need to,
remember who it was that brought it to my awareness, and they said that they had some odd experiences. I can't remember who it was. I
well,
think
well, if there is a type of spiritual anything, there's a person down there that represents it.
yeah.
So
Well, I
yeah, so
mean, I mean, people can, there's different. Everybody has the right to uh worship however they choose to, or believe in
right.
whatever they choose to, or whatever.
Mhm.
My thing is that, you know, if you're misleading or misguiding people, or for your own self-serving
Yeah,
purposes, that's not, I don't do well with that, and I will pick up on it quickly if,
yeah.
yeah.
Everybody that's down there, so I have so one of the things that I started investigating was channeling, right? And what is a channel and who channels, because this is a channel.
Hmm.
And we're so lucky. I don't I've met so many amazing people here in town. We live on a magnetic anomaly here in Jacksonville. So it's interesting who that attracts, and what theories and practices come with those people.
Well, I don't
And
think it's everywhere in Jacksonville, because I'll tell you, I've gone to Orange Park and I can feel the dense, heavy energy
mhm,
there. I mean, it's like going through like cutting through a knife. Like I can
mhm,
feel from going from one spot to another, the
mhm,
dense, where the energy will drop, and the dense,
mhm,
yeah. And so I think Mandarin for the most part is a very, there's a lot of high vibing, but it has
mhm,
its points. I energetically can pick up and feel them.
mhm.
But yeah.
Well,
And there,
and
yeah.
really, yeah, it's our job, not our job, but a job to go in there and be the light, and and be kind and be nice, and it will
Well,
all
being
straighten up.
neutral is the smart thing, being
Yeah.
neutral without judgment and
Mhm,
allowing people to be just exactly who they are. And they will
mhm,
show you rather than tell you, and believe it.
mhm.
My thing is I wanted to not believe what I was seeing because I went straight for the heart, believing that I could turn the hearts of people around, and everybody is not there. And I don't try to do that anymore.
Yeah.
People, it's not my place to change anybody. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything.
Mhm.
And so I respect that. Yeah. Uh
Yeah.
People
It,
show up when they're ready. It's like you know, they'll show up when
you know,
they're ready.
in all my years of going up and chatting to people, I have never, knock on wood, never had anybody be upset with
Yeah.
me, which
Yeah.
surprises me, because
A
you know
lot of
how
people definitely take it back. When I first had my awakening, you best believe I was talking to every man, woman, and child, from
Mhm,
the street corner hustler to the,
mhm,
it wouldn't have mattered that freaking could have been the Air Force
mhm.
freaking general, whatever. I don't care. I wanted everybody to know what I became aware of. And I wanted some answers, and I was angry. Well, more
Mhm.
than angry, I was just in shock. Like
Well,
I
yeah,
couldn't
and
believe
you
it.
think you're going crazy too,
Yeah.
and then you get some type of grounding where maybe you're not so crazy. Somebody might understand what you're asking, and then they turn out to be an asshole, and then you're like, you
Well, the
know,
point is once you have the awakening, well, my
yeah,
initial, I mean, I think I came in awake, and I think that's why I was targeted so terribly. But I
yeah,
will say that I don't think, I know I came in awake and I was targeted, and I have some memory. But anyways, I, you get to a point where, okay, you become aware of all these things, and then I went through the stage of wanting to save the world, and I felt like it was my
mhm,
responsibility to save everybody, and, you know,
mhm,
couldn't understand why other people weren't able to see the things I was seeing, or becoming aware or knowing the things I know, or but
one
I
thing,
had to get to a point where I had to let go. Like I could share information with people, but I
right,
had to really come to terms with a lot, because I just didn't know how to reach people in
mhm.
a productive way that wasn't going to scare the shit out of them,
Oh yeah,
or project my own traumas onto them, my
mhm.
own, you know, and been seriously challenged with my family behind that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
My, I think I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure my dad went to his grave thinking I was a meth head or something,
Yeah.
or just I
Well, you
just
best believe that he knows that you're not now.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
just you,
And
and
yeah.
I couldn't explain it to him either. Why are he'd say, why are you even bringing, why are you even talking about, why would you mention this, or
Well, a lot
I
of people
would
have cognitive
pull something.
dissonance, and they don't want to know the truth, because
Yeah.
because see, what happens is when people become, okay, now I'm having a real high pitched sound. This is confirmation. My whole
Let it
ear is going off. People don't want to know the truth. And um, okay, there's a reason why I'm getting that. So I must have said something that I need to maybe, hold on. It causes a lot of uh, challenges in family units when one person wakes up and you want to tell your family, or you want to share information you become aware of,
go.
not to scare them, but to say, hey, these are things. But when people have cognitive dissonance, or they're in complete denial, it's usually because they don't want to have to step up and take responsibility for themselves.
Yep.
And I can admit, I didn't know how to do it for myself. Like I
Hmm.
was, uh, well, I had to really have a look. I mean, some really
But that's
things
that.
that I denied, things that what I'll say, Amy, is everything I judged in other people, I became. Short of, I've never harmed a child or molested somebody, but I use my body in many ways that weren't so becoming. I've done things that I'm not proud of. Of course, it's been years, and I'm so thankful that I've gotten to a place where I can say, you know what? Yeah, I made some bad choices, but I learned so much, and
Right,
I'm so thankful. And I know I
right,
didn't like it, but I'm
right.
glad I learned, and it allows me to be able to have compassion for the next person. That's
That's
why,
exactly right.
yeah, yeah,
That's exactly right.
yeah.
And really you're wanting that person to have compassion with you too, because you have this mutual uh
It's an
experience.
understanding.
Yeah,
It's an understanding. It's a knowing.
yes.
It's a respect that I respect you
Mhm,
right where you're at.
right. And
Now,
that's
would I
very
allow somebody to do harm in front of me and just stand there and look?
well,
I
no.
did. I had such my own lack of self-worth and
Mhm,
discipline and value that I watched horrible things happen before me that were so
mhm,
traumatizing. Not a victim here, but at the
right,
time it was it was the way I didn't know
mhm,
how to respond or
right,
react. So I would
right,
shut down, and I
right.
don't do that today. I
Yeah.
speak up. Yeah.
And it's hard, and watching you be brave helps other people to be brave, even if they're not
Yes.
brave in the same way. It's not
Yes.
it's not the topic of bravery, it's the act of the compassion of bravery. And what that means to you. And other people want to have that for themselves as well. And I
Yeah.
know very well that it just takes, just a couple of words sometimes, um, from
Peop-
yourself or from it doesn't even matter where it comes from,
Yeah.
to make those lives. And that's really what this evolution is about. It's not, these new age people will say, oh, it's raise your high vibration, but they don't tell you really what that means because they haven't quite figured it out yet either. It's not everybody can vibrate at this thing. Well, really what it is it's a balance of knowing yourself and the energy of who you are, coming off, and realizing that you're not going to be a great person 100% of the time.
Well,
We're not
no, that's
here to
part
be
of the
that.
human experience. I
Right,
agree. But
right.
we can get to, well, this is the thing, and I appreciate everything you just said. When you can get to a place where you are neutral and you can let go, people
Mm-hmm,
say, oh, I don't judge. Yes, you do. Okay, we
mm-hmm,
all do.
mm-hmm.
But there's a difference in, you have to, okay, so when I say judge, we have to be able to discern and make
Right,
choices so that,
right.
when it's fire, you don't go walk in fire. You have to be able to use discernment, but not judgment in a way that is condescending or belittling to other people, but to say, let me make a call on this one, use my discernment, call it judgment, discernment, whatever. There is a difference, but we have to be able to, make conscious,
Mm-hmm,
intelligent choices for
right,
ourselves. You
right.
can't
And
just,
yeah, and
and but coming from a place of neutrality where not, you see things kind of from both sides of the fence, right? You can see it from both sides of the fence and make a neutral observation rather than going into judgment, basically, is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
and observation is the key word there too. And stopping for a second to observe what is happening, before you participate in what's happening, even in just this dialogue right here, um, can change the whole dynamic and the whole puzzle, and the whole entanglement. I mean, we're all entangled together, and just a quick tweak in how somebody carries themselves, can change the entire dynamic of everything and
Absolutely,
then
I
change
agree. Yeah.
your whole experience. And so when you can be an observer and stop and recognize the observation, period first. You know,
We
I
don't
think,
always do that, and that's part
no,
of learning how to master yourself,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I do pretty well at this point where I can pull myself back, but I'm not perfect in it. Like, things happen, and especially when we're around people that, especially
mhm,
in family dynamics where there's been a lot of hurt
yeah.
or trauma bonding, and uh we
You know,
we
I'm listening to my kids and I'm listening to me, manipulate my little one through feeling guilty because I didn't want to do something. And I
yes,
caught myself doing that yesterday and I'm like, oh crap. I'm
but you're
like,
aware of it, and it's
yeah,
something, so that's fabulous that you're, yeah. I think
well,
about things too when I do things. It's like, why is it hard for me to ask for what I want or need? Normally it's not, but if I'm, in certain situations, it's like,
mm-hmm,
it's difficult to say, hey, wait a minute, this is what I want for myself.
mm-hmm,
And it's not to impede or intrude on
right,
anybody else's stuff, but for myself, this is what
mhm,
feels good and safe for me. And I'm learning to practice this little bit more and more. And
yep,
part of that is setting boundaries with family,
mm-hmm,
friends, everybody. Because
mm-hmm,
I'm at the point, it's not that I don't care. Of course, I care deeply about my
mm-hmm.
family and friends that I've been friends with for
It
a long
does
time.
no one any good if you guys get together and all you do is feel this way and
Well,
that
no,
way.
I have, there's been a lot of manipulation going on because of lack of self-responsibility and crossing other people's boundaries, people
Mm-hmm.
crossing my boundaries, not really knowing how to have healthy boundaries, right? Because it's always been, you know, I've dealt with things a certain way. I choose not to do anymore. And
Yep.
I'm not, yeah. And realizing that a lot of my relationships were based around trauma bonding. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean I don't love people, and you know, I do love
Shared
my family very
experience.
much, but but you get to a point, let me just say this, and there's a reason I'm saying this, because I think it's affects a lot of people and their families.
Mhm.
You get to a point in your life where you realize it's not selfish to respect and honor yourself and choose yourself.
Mhm.
Okay. And I didn't do it for a long time because I felt like I was letting my family down or letting friends down. Not just family, friends, other people.
Mhm.
I finally am now so okay with taking care of Ida and not worrying about everybody else. I don't have it in me anymore. I don't want to. I don't want the responsibility. I really
So
don't.
liberating. It's so
It's
liberating.
very liberating,
Mhm.
and it's going to continue being liberating. It doesn't mean I don't, and I keep saying this because not that I'm trying to convince myself, it's not that I don't care. I've cared to the point of my own detriment, and I'm
Mhm.
not willing to do that anymore. I
Yep.
put everything and everybody before my own well-being my whole life.
Which really does nobody any good at all.
Well, no. And
You
then
know,
there was a selfish part of me that my addiction, because I lived quite an auspicious life, and I'm just so past the stories. I'm not the person I used to be, and I haven't been for a long time. And I think,
well, I'm so
uh,
glad because now we're friends.
yes,
I
Amy,
didn't know
and
you
I
then.
and
I
I
know
think
you
you're
now.
awesome, and I love talking to you.
Oh, good.
I,
I
I
like
do.
talking to
I
you.
enjoy talking to you, and I know that you're doing amazing stuff, and I appreciate you. It's nice to have somebody to be able to connect with and talk to and go and
It
have
really is,
lunch. We got to make it
especially
to that. Yeah,
down
make
the
it to that.
street,
Yeah,
literally.
yeah,
Right down. She her your salon is a mile and a half away from my house,
yeah.
down the street. Just that's it. I could
Well,
ride my
let's
bike
get
down
together and
there.
definitely make that. I didn't realize it's 8:37. So
Oh yeah.
let's start. Um,
Well, well
you want
here.
to share any contact information where people can reach you? Do
Well,
you
let's
offer
see.
any services that maybe people could contact you to get maybe drawings done, or what
I
is
am happy to chat with anybody anytime. You have my name up on the thing, and that's how you can find me on Facebook.
Okay.
My art is, most of my art is up on my regular Facebook page, but I also have Divine Abstract. I've only ever sold one painting or one anything to anybody, and that was for the name Divine Abstract. So I kept that. But I actually am going to be starting a new show like this on a network called BB3, and it's going to be called Perspectives from the Parking Lot. So pretty much going to be talking about things that I do in the grocery stores and then what comes out of it. Like tonight, I've heard several words that I've heard mentioned, in the last couple of days, and discernment is a big one lately, which means that it's out there in the unity consciousness flow, and as a learning availability to people. So
Sure.
I want to sit back and go and daydream about what that actually means and watch how it flows through everybody. I
Well, I
think
mean,
that's
we
a
definitely
big.
got big portal. I mean, we have the new moon, the blood moon, I think it is.
Yeah,
Um,
I've never taken a whole lot of time to learn that stuff because I've always had friends that were really good at it, so I just let them be good at it.
well, yeah,
Um,
me too. I mean, I'm not a don't although I definitely know that I do a lot in the astral realms, and I do my work.
yeah.
Well, I
Well,
do
I've
my
been
work
paying.
multidimensionally for sure, but
Well, I've
I
been
don't
paying
fully
attention to how the
understand
energy
it.
flows in, and then how that translates through things and manifests through people, and trying to understand how that works so that you can have a better idea of how to put yourself in what you want to be in more.
Yeah.
Go with the flow. You just got to find the right flow. But
Do
so
you want
any
to
of those
share your
ways,
art with us? What you've drawn?
yeah. This is let's see. All
Yeah,
right. So this is,
that's really beautiful.
yeah.
I
So
think
this is
that's
what
beautiful.
came down. This is for you. So I'll drop this by probably tomorrow. And then,
Oh, that's very kind.
yeah.
I would
So,
love that.
yeah. And
I'll yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Amy.
yeah, I'll give you some
Sign the
colors
bottom of
too.
it. I'll put it in a frame.
There you go. You are
Yeah.
more than welcome to do whatever you want with it.
Well, I
It
mean,
is
if any words come to mind of what that might be, you could
this
put
is
like a
the
little thing
energy
at the bottom.
signature of this conversation.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is the stamp of this conversation,
Okay.
which also
Well,
Katie included
it
in.
is multi-dimensional art.
Mhm.
So, and that's this conversation has been we've mentioned many things, and
Yes.
you and I seem to do well in sharing our perspectives with each other, and respecting one another.
Yeah.
And I think, but at the core, we definitely operate from the same value system of being respectful and honorable to each
Mhm.
other, and
And everybody.
allowing each other to have our own voices, and we don't have to agree with everything, but we respect each other, and I appreciate you, and I'm very thankful to have met you, and
I
I look
appreciate.
forward to continuing to get to know you more and do work with you, and maybe have you back on the show at a later date, and
We should
maybe after, yeah.
we should do
And
that. I've got plans for our neighborhood too. So,
okay, well,
um,
I'd love to be a part of it. Let me know if there's anything I could pitch in. And we'll talk, but
yep.
we're gonna go ahead and
Thank you.
um
Thank you for
you're welcome. Thank you for coming on,
everything.
Amy.
I
I
so
appreciate it.
appreciate it. And
So, guys, I have
oh yeah.
vanilla lavender CBD 200 milligrams, refined shea butter, coconut oil. This stuff is the best. And then I also have cedarwood basil. So I did one in memory of my mother and one of my father. The website and to order is on the screen. It is my passion to get one of my passions to get everybody getting off the pain
Mhm.
medicines onto using more natural and holistic ways of healing. And CBD is a good, these are good salves.
Mhm.
They're $40, 200 milligrams. I do have a special running. You get 3 for $100. So you get 2 individual, 200 milligrams, 200 milligrams. And then I have patchouli, sweet orange, and lemongrass that does not have CBD.
How
You
much,
would be able to,
how many
yeah.
ounces is it?
These are 2 ounces
Nice, nice.
in each jar. I've had such good feedback from
Mhm,
my clients that have neuropathy and arthritis,
mhm.
and just the smell of them. But the resident manager here uses the patchouli one, the sweet orange and lemongrass, as like a perfume. I mean, it's so lovely and it lasts all day. My skin's like stays dewy all day. I put it on this morning, and you could still feel the softness and the dewiness, the dewy feeling of my skin
Mhm.
from it. It really is lovely. And one
Oh,
of these, if you've got minor aches and pains or deep tissue pain, it definitely would help.
yeah.
So,
I use that for my restless leg syndrome at night. It it
yeah.
it makes my legs stop.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
Well,
I
maybe
think
you'll have to get one of mine and check it out and let me know if
yeah,
you like it.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
these are well, when I see you, I'm telling you, the smell of these is amazing. Even if you don't have pain, just to reintroduce CBD back into your
Mhm.
or cannabinoids back into your body is a smart thing. You can do some research on it. And so yeah, there's a holiday special, guys. Go to the website, place your order. I'll get them sent out as soon as I see the orders. And Amy, again, thank you. I
Or
loved having this discussion with you. And people, reach out to Amy on Facebook if you want to see more of her art. Facebook friend request her. And she'll
yeah,
have her own show coming up. And I'd love to see that. I'd love to make sure you, get
yeah,
the
and then you will
information to
have to
me.
be on it too. You can sit with me in the Winn-Dixie parking lot and we can talk about things.
Oh, well, I'll